He's more than an athlete. He's an artist.
I think you're in love, Ron.
Shut up.
Victor, I love you. Victor, I do.
When we're apart, my heart beats only.
Harry Potter! Hey, my eyes aren't glistening with the ghost of my past.
I'm not an owl.
Technically, it's a fact.
Ah, c'est magnifique.
Kill the stag.
I'm on a Marty Crouch!
Behaving like a babbling, bumbling band of baboons.
Well, Hermione. Oh, girl.
Oh, well spotted.
Can we run away?
Hello, everybody, and thank you for listening to Retold, the podcast where I retell you my favorite story of all time, Harry Potter. And we are back for season 4. Woo! All right, so if you're new here, thank you for joining us. I'm so excited to be back, so excited to be going through the 4th book, Goblet of Fire. What we typically do on this show is I will recap what happens in the Harry Potter books 2 chapters at a time. I have a co-host every episode. We go over our favorite lines, lore, behind-the-scenes stuff. So that's what you can expect. We also have some trivia. All right. We love trivia here. And yeah, at this point, though, we may also be getting into our anime stuff, too.
That's right.
We might have our first anime episode out. So typically, this is a fantasy podcast, but we are looking to expand. So who knows? Maybe that'll be out already at this time. If not now, very soon. But anyway, we're back. It's season 4. We finished up book Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, and now we are starting my favorite book,
I know.
The Goblet of Fire. Woo! With me today, I am joined by the lovely, the beautiful, wonderful, and amazing Bailey.
Hey,
It's my wife.
it's been a while.
Yeah,
But here I am.
here you are. And so, listeners, every single first episode of a season, I like to have my wife on, all right, because she deserves the first. She deserves the best. All right, I didn't do that on the very first episode of the show because we didn't think about it at the time.
Yeah.
But it is now a tradition to have my wife be the first guest on every episode. So today we're going to cover Goblet of Fire chapters 1 and 2, the Riddle House and Harry's Scar. Is that what it's called? The Scar? The Scar. Very good. So that's what we'll be talking about. But we have my wife here today joining me in studio, coming to you live.
In studio, our living room.
Yeah. Guys, we're doing YouTube versions now too. So if you want to actually see the video for this, check it out on YouTube. We've already done your fandom ID, but just a quick recap so the audience knows. What is your house again?
I am a Ravenclaw
All right.
through and through.
Favorite book and movie?
Oh,
Oh,
gosh.
you haven't finished the book, so you don't know.
Yeah, of the ones I've read, I think my answer has been that the third one is my favorite book.
Mm-hmm.
And then of the movies, I don't really... Oh, I think I said the 5th was my favorite.
That's right. The 5th. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Well,
don't go back and fact check and then be like, wow, she doesn't even remember her favorites, because the answer is I probably just changed my mind.
that's right.
know?
And you can do that. You have the ability to do that.
That's right.
Listeners, normally what you can expect for every single episode is I will do a short interview with my guest, but because my wife has been on several times already at this point, we're not going to do that part. But then we get into Quizzitch. All right. And Quizzitch is our trivia section. And then we will recap the chapters. And then at the end of those chapters, we will talk about our favorite lines from those chapters. We will also talk about the Transfigurations, which are changes that the movies made from the books. And then we will also talk about our Golden Snitches, which are lore drops, behind-the-scenes things that are mentioned in each chapter that the average fan might not know about. We do it all again for the second chapter, and then we wrap it up with our restricted section discussion and then that's the section where we try to not to talk about any throughout the episode, we try not to talk about any spoilers if we can avoid it. So if you're new to Harry Potter, you should be mostly safe. But in that section, that is the dark, dangerous section. All right. But anyway, Baby, it's Quizzitch time.
Yeah.
All right. So listeners, again, this is the part of the show where I ask my co-host.
Larry comes on and sings a song.
This is the part of the show where my co-host and I, we ask each other 2 questions based on the information given in the chapters that we discuss. I keep track of those, of who gets more correct answers, me or my guest hosts. Every episode is a different guest host. I keep track, and at the end of the season, we see who got more correct answers, me or the guest hosts. Me representing myself, my guest host representing the world, because I pridefully think that I know Harry Potter better than anybody else. So far, I've been proven wrong twice. All right. I won with book 1. I beat the world for book 1, but in books 2 and 3, the world beat me. Barely, but they beat me. But we're here now. This is my favorite book. Things are going to be different this time.
Yeah.
So
I
I hope
we'll probably win this one. Otherwise, you're going to feel really embarrassed.
I'm not going to feel too bad because it's only the first episode. All right.
I mean at the end of the season.
Oh, yeah.
If you don't win.
That's true.
That'll
That's
be.
True. But anyway, baby, ask me your first question.
Okay. I had a couple. So, okay. What is the name of the village pub at which the villagers gossiped regarding Frank Bryce?
The Hanged Man.
Good. Very good.
Aptly named because the town is called
Hangleton.
Hangleton.
Yeah.
All right. All right, Bailey, your question.
Oh, boy.
Why? Let me go with from chapter 1.
Okay.
How long does Frank think Nagini is?
9 feet?
That is incorrect.
What is it?
12 feet.
12 feet. Okay.
Would you like an extra question?
If you got one, sure.
Yes. Well, let's wait to see if I go through my chapters. Or see if because you already asked me a question. I was going to ask you. What's your next question?
Okay. This one may be a little tricky. In what order does Harry imagine writing a letter to various people about his scar hurting?
Yes. It is somewhat tricky. So first, he envisions writing to Hermione. And then he has like a brief thought about writing to Dumbledore. But he's like, I don't even know what I would write to Dumbledore. And then he pictures writing to Ron. And then finally, he writes to Sirius.
Okay, that is correct.
Yes.
Good.
2 for 2. All right, your second question. Why is Harry able to keep his stuff in his room?
Because of the floorboard that comes up. He can hide it.
Somewhat. So that actually was a part of another question. The other question was going to be, where does he hide the letters?
Okay.
So where does he hide the letters?
Well, in the floorboard.
In the floorboard. But why is he able to keep them this time around, though? Because the Dursleys usually say, like, keep all his stuff from him.
It's because, isn't it because I know that this affects other things, but they're afraid of Sirius.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Ding, ding, ding.
Okay.
Yeah, usually he tries to keep the stuff away from them, but
he's got a crazy godfather.
He's got a crazy godfather that he conveniently didn't mention.
Yeah.
Was innocent, actually.
Yeah.
So you got that right. Yay. So 2-1.
Okay.
All right. Very good. Not bad. All right. Off to a good start. World. Off to a better start. Me.
Yeah.
But audience, your Quizzitch question for this week is, how old was Frank when he died? If you know the answer to that, you can write into theretoldpodcast@gmail.com or message me on Instagram at theretoldpodcast. So yeah, Bailey, do you happen to know the answer?
Are you going to cut it out?
I am going to cut it out. Yes, we cut that part out. Bailey knew the answer. It was wonderful. So yeah, send that in to the Retold Podcast. And before we move on, just for funsies, bonus question, baby. Do you know how far away Little Hangleton was from Little Whinging, where Harry lives on Privet Drive?
Oh, it says it in like the last sentence.
It does. It does say it.
100 miles or something. It was like a round number, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. It was 200 miles.
200. Okay.
But anyway, moving on now. That's our Quizzitch section. Hope you enjoyed it. We are now going to move to our chapter coverages, our retellings, if you would. Usually, these are the meat, the bulk of the episode. I don't know how it's going to go, though, because these are rather short chapters, especially
Mhm.
chapter 2. But let's get into it. Chapter 1. This is the Riddle House. Now, before I read chapter 1, I wanted to read the back of the book, Goblet of Fire. I don't often think about this type of stuff, like I don't think many of us do when it comes to how these books were advertised, because it's been so long. They often escape our memory. I don't even remember most of the trailers. But the back of this book is so funny to me. Harry Potter wants to get away from the pernicious Dursleys. What does pernicious mean?
Pernicious means just like destructively bad, or
Okay.
yeah. I know that because of Pride and Prejudice.
Great book. Great book.
Yeah.
Wants to get away from the pernicious Dursleys and go to the Quidditch World Cup with Hermione, Ron, and the Weasleys. He wants to dream about Cho Chang, his crush, and then in parentheses, and maybe do more than dream. What? What a wild thing to break down. He wants to find out about the mysterious event involving 2 other rival schools of magic and a competition that hasn't happened for hundreds of years. He wants to be a normal 14-year-old wizard. Unfortunately for Harry Potter, he's not normal. He's different, even by wizarding standards. And in this case, different can be deadly. Or pernicious. All right, so moving on to our Chapter 1 retelling, The Riddle House. We open with a description of the Riddle House, a big house, once grand, but now damp, derelict, and unoccupied. I also liked how it said everybody got together and said it was, in parentheses, creepy. Like as if that was an incredible attribute to describe to the house. It was creepy. Located in the town of Little Hangleton, which is full of gossips, something crazy happened 50 years ago, which means Frank Bryce was, I can't say it, but he was like in his 20s when all this stuff happened, when like the murder of the Riddles happened, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But apparently, one day, 50 years ago, the 3 inhabitants of the Rizzled house, so named Mr. and Mrs. Riddle and their son Tom, were all found dead. And then like the next note was, nobody was too upset about that. Nobody was really too bothered because they were mean. But the rest of these townspeople are kind of mean in general anyway. People just wanted to know who did it. And like, I don't care who killed him. Or sorry, I don't care who died. I want to know who killed him. And this, I wrote down, this gossip sesh is crazy. So the cook comes in, the cook for the Riddles, and says that it was Frank. And I loved this scene because everybody's like, no way it could have been Frank. And then as the scene goes on,
like, it was definitely Frank.
Yeah, as the scene goes on, everybody turned on him.
Yeah.
Like, what was it?
Such good social commentary, by the way.
Yeah, and that's usually what people bring up when
Mob
talking about this
mentality.
incident. Yeah, and JK poking fun at that. But one of my favorite sayings is something along the lines of like, and they turned on him quicker than Peter turned on Jesus. Like, that's basically what happened here. So, because the cook comes in and says, well, he had a key to the back door and the door wasn't bursted open, and we don't know what Alohomora is, so it's got to be Frank. And everybody's like, checks out. Frank swears that he's innocent, though. And even though nobody believes him, he is let go by the police because they got nothing on him. So take that, Dot.
After
old lady.
the what's it called when they check the body afterward? What is that word called?
The autopsy.
The autopsy.
Autopsy that they
My brain
died
is
of.
shrinking. It's
That's
fine.
right. We're actually recording this episode a good bit ahead of time because you're pregnant.
Quite.
Yep. Gonna be having a baby soon.
Yep.
We're very excited about that. Very soon, people. I'm gonna be a dad. But anyway, the doctors said that really the Riddles were just some scaredy cats. All right, that's all. They just died of fright. So Frank comes back, and new owners come and go from the residence. He keeps doing the yard work for them, the gardening. He's just pulling a Samwise Gamgee. All right,
Yep.
He's just doing gardening. I was just trimming what is it? Trimming the hedges. Oh, a little late to be trimming the shrubbery. Whatever Gandalf says. I do like that it says that the newest owner at the time of, like, in present day Harry Potter just has the house for tax reasons, though nobody was sure what that meant.
Classic.
Then we got a note about some mean boys just being mean and messing with the house. They like to throw rocks, break windows, and Frank's. It's a really sad note where Frank, it just says that he's sure that they just mess with him because they, like their parents, just believe that he murdered the Riddles.
Yeah, when I was reading it, it made me think of that animated Halloween movie, Monster House.
Mm-hmm.
That movie is so. I wonder if it aged well. I haven't seen it in years, but
I always just picture the freaking lady getting covered in concrete, and it all like that terrified me, gave me nightmares.
Oh yeah, for sure. That was probably one of the scariest kid movies that came out, other than maybe Coraline. Like those two go together in my head because they are actually scary. So
indeed. But yeah, and there's a mean old guy in that movie, right?
Well, because he's a homeowner and the kids, he's like, get off my lawn, but in a really creepy way.
But he's really like protecting them.
Well, yeah, you find out later that like, he does that because if someone is on the house's property, then the house will like lure them in or can even grab them and pull them in.
We should rewatch that movie. Give it a chance.
I would
It could be our daughter's first movie.
No.
Watch
it next Halloween.
That's going to be Goblet of Fire, her first movie.
Okay.
But anyway, so one night he's sleeping at home and he wakes up. Oh, this was going to be a potential Quizzitch question. Why does he wake up?
Because his something aches, like like an old injury.
His bad leg.
Yeah.
His bad leg was hurting him. He notices a fire going up in the house and he thinks it's those boys up to no good again. And then I said, like a boss, he says he ain't calling the police. Oh, that's right. He's like, he doesn't have a phone.
He doesn't like them.
Yeah. It is a sad thing though. He's like, I don't even trust them though, because of what they did to me years ago, which is a solid reason.
But 50 years is a long time.
That's true. It's probably not the same police officers
Definitely
anymore.
not.
Anyway, he does some sleuthing, and we just learned where that word came from. A sleuth of cats, right? Is that what it was called?
No, you're thinking skulk of foxes.
Oh
no.
I'm sad now. He does
it's okay.
He does some skulking, all right, which comes from a skulk of foxes.
That's right.
Very good.
Yeah.
But he skulks up to the house, all right, and sneaks in through the back door covered in ivy, which I thought was interesting because the entrance to Hogwarts when the first years go in was also covered in ivy. That might not, it's just a silly connection. But anyway, he goes into the kitchen, heads upstairs, and he stops at the door because he hears some voices. And who are they? It's Voldemort and Wormtail. And they're just having a little chat by the fire.
Yep.
Their conversation, it's definitely menacing. Like it's skin crawling and deeply upsetting, especially for Frank. But when viewed a certain way, it's also like really funny.
Okay, I was wanting to talk about this because I'm going to start with a question because you got the benefit of reading this kind of as a kid-ish, more of a kid than you are now, I guess. When you read this for the first time, did you interpret it as really scary and intimidating?
Yeah, so this is a good question because like books 1 through 3, I don't have much of a memory reading them the first time.
Okay.
But this book I do. I do remember what I thought the first time I read it. And yes, it was like creepy.
Okay.
So as a kid, it came across as creepy, but as an adult reading it now, they come across as an odd couple.
Yes.
Of like freaking Voldemort when he says, well, especially the part where he says, Voldemort says, I see you flinch when you look at me. I feel you shudder when you touch me. It's like a loveless marriage.
You don't look at me.
So yeah, it's such a loveless marriage that they have.
Yeah.
I also enjoy.
You just want to leave so you can cheat on me.
Yeah, that's basically what he says at one point too. Yeah.
Well, and like the silliness of the conversation about the Quidditch World Cup just feels so. It's like it feels wrong for Voldemort to be talking about the Quidditch World Cup.
Yeah, and I do like. My other note was I also enjoy Frank being confused at the wizard words. And there's that one point it says he takes a gnarled finger and tries to get the earwax out of his ears. And then when they say Quidditch again, there's in parentheses, he dug his gnarled finger even deeper. But anyway, To follow their conversation, Voldemort says that he has a plan, but it will have to take place after the Quidditch World Cup and that it requires Harry Potter. Wormtail says, "Are you sure about that? Like, I could go get any wizard." And we'll talk about a little bit about this in the restricted section, but he's like, "I could go get any wizard. You know, it doesn't matter who." Wormtail says, Voldemort accuses him of trying to run away, trying to cheat on him, you know.
You don't love me anymore.
That's right. And I love the cowardice line. You know, we brought that up too. Is that in your favorite lines?
No.
It's in my favorite lines, so I'll skip past it. But it's essentially along the lines of Voldemort saying, like, "You're not loyal, you're just a coward." Voldemort then says he could use another wizard, but he has reasons for picking Harry. Again, listeners, stick to the restricted section if you want to hear that. So they start talking about Bertha Jorkins. There's who's some ministry wizard that they got some important info out of. We also learned that afterwards Voldemort killed her, and even Frank is bothered by how cold and unfeeling Voldemort is when he's discussing this, because it is. Like, it's really creepy, the dialogue talking about Bertha Jorkins. Like, I remember at one point Voldemort says something like, he's gaslighting Wormtail, and he says, "I had to kill Bertha Jorkins. I don't have to kill you." But Voldemort reassures Wormtail that they just need to commit one more murder, and that's it.
It's also funny that they use the word murder because it's like, it's one of those things that distinguishes Harry Potter from a lot of the newer things of not allowing a villain to just be pure evil. And it's like, it seems almost we've been conditioned to associate that with childishness. And so when they were talking about that and using the word murder, like, "We're going to murder," it's like part of me was like, "Oh, that's kind of childish." And then I thought about it and I was like, no, it's not.
Yeah.
Like, our culture now kind of treats it that way, but you know,
I was thinking about this too, and we'll get to it in just a second, but you know, people will critique the villain who's evil for the sake of being evil, which Voldemort is a little bit, there's more to him than that, but especially,
not in this scene.
well, actually, I think upon reading this chapter, even still, he came across as such a good villain to me. Especially when we get to the section we're about to get to. So anyway, let's get to that section where Voldemort starts getting more menacing. Voldemort reassures Wormtail that they just need to commit one more murder. That's it. And at this point, Frank is like, "I need to call the police." But before he can move, Nagini shows up. And how long is she?
12 feet.
12 feet. And in my notes, I wrote the 12-foot Burmese python because there's
20.
I know, but it's 12 in the book. But there's a guy on Instagram we like to watch. I can't think of his name. Bailey will look it up.
Something Garrett.
Yeah.
Fishing Garrett.
Fishing Garrett. He like is on the hunt for the Burmese python, the 20-foot Burmese python.
He mostly works in Florida, and you know how people will release their pythons out in the wild and now they're an invasive species. So his main job is going through the Everglades and other parts and getting
check
them
him
out of there. Yeah, Fishing Garrett.
Check him out. It's really funny
cool.
page where he's just
so
like
unhinged.
He's like yoink, just grabs whatever creature he can.
He will trace a barefoot on an alligator's tail and call it a swamp puppy, and he is not concerned at all. He will poke the most venomous.
He's a true Florida
spider.
man. He's a true Florida man, but like not like weird or. You know what I mean?
He's
you know
not
what I mean?
Criminal.
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of getting at. But anyway, so Frank, however, is not Fishing Garrett because he was pretty scared by this. He's scared of Nagini. He's scared that Nagini will kill him, but she's just like, "Excuse me," and she slithers on past him, and she does rat him out though. All right, she does rat him out to Voldemort. They have a conversation. Frank's like, "I must be crazy. Is he talking to the snake?" Wormtail opens up the door. I do like the note where he opens up the door and he doesn't say anything, and Voldemort goes, "Invite him in, Wormtail. Where are your manners?" And especially when you listen to the Jim Dale version,
which I did today.
His voice acting for this. "Where are your manners?" Oh, I love it so much. Does a great job. I like how in this moment I really liked how Frank like gets braver as he walks in because he was scared of Nagini. He was scared of what they were talking about. Like his legs were stuck still. But it says in this moment that he was giving even braver now that he's actually there. And it was a good contrast with Wormtail, who's a coward, and they talk about what a coward he is. You know, and Voldemort calls him a muggle. He's like, "What'd you call me?" And I like it. It also said, while Frank is like upbraiding Voldemort, he essentially says, it says he has like a stroke of inspiration. He's like, "And by the way, my wife knows that I'm here. All right." And Voldemort goes,
"You have a wife.
You don't have any wife. Don't lie to me." It made me think of when he says, "Nobody knows you're here." Made me think of the Gollum line of, "You don't have any friends. Nobody likes you. Go away." That is what it reminded me of. But anyway, Frank tells Voldemort to face him like a man. And Voldemort has a really cool response. All right. And it's like, again, Voldemort's evil. We don't like Voldemort. I'm not saying I like Voldemort. I'm just saying it's really well written. It's menacing and it's intriguing to read of him just being like, but I'm not a man. ... I'm something much great. Yeah, much more. And then I like ... But then again, why not? And so he has Wormtail turn his chair around. Frank sees him. Frank is horrified, and the chapter ends with Frank being killed by Voldemort and Harry waking up 200 miles away. Yay, that's the end of the chapter. So now, listeners, we're going to move on to our favorite lines of the chapter. So this is the part of the show where we talk about lines that stick out to us the most. So in Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, Chapter 1, Bailey, what was your favorite line? What were some of your favorite? We'll bounce back and forth. What's your first one?
I apologize. This is not in chronological order, but the first one that I actually wrote down was when Frank first steps into the room and then gets brave. "What's that you're calling me?" said Frank defiantly. For now that he was inside the room, now that the time had come for some sort of action, he felt braver. It had always been so in the war. And it was that last part that made me really like it. So
yeah, that's also one of my favorite lines as well, especially in contrast to this line about Wormtail, which is one of my favorite lines. "Your devotion is nothing more than cowardice. You would not be here if you had anywhere else to go." I love that line. It makes me think of, some people try to turn cowardice into a virtue, and there's this concept of if you're weak, that's not really admirable, but if you are a strong person who chooses nonviolence, that is more admirable. A lot more to say about that, but that's what that made me think of, just that concept of how there is no real virtue
in being harmless.
And in what Wormtail does in showing loyalty to Voldemort. Not even to Voldemort. Voldemort's like, "This isn't impressive, my guy. You had nowhere else to go." So that was one of my favorite ones. What's another one you have?
This one was kind of like toward the beginning with the exposition of just the history of the Riddles dying, with the autopsy. In fact, the report continued, in a tone of unmistakable bewilderment, "The Riddles all appeared to be in perfect health, apart from the fact that they were all dead." I love that line. It's so good.
Yeah, it's like, they look just fine, except they weren't.
Yeah, it's a good use of an M dash in that sentence. It's just
my English teacher wife, everybody.
Leave me alone.
Another one of my favorite lines, moving through, when Wormtail says that he found Voldemort. He's talking about his usefulness to Voldemort. He's like, "I was useful. All right, I found you. I was the one who found you. I brought you Bertha Jorkins." And I like this line from Voldemort. Again, we get a lot of great characterization of Voldemort in this chapter. He says, "That is true," said the second man, sounding amused. "A stroke of brilliance I would not have thought possible from you, Wormtail. Though, if truth be told, you were not aware how useful she would be when you caught her, were you?" And then later he says, like Wormtail tries to deny it, but he says, "Liar," said the second voice again, the cruel amusement more pronounced than ever. Like, here's this guy, Wormtail, who is the only useful person to Voldemort right now. And Voldemort is so wicked that he is having fun making fun of this guy right to him. It's
the guy who he's completely dependent on right now.
Yeah, it's a really good. Yeah, and he even points that out. He's like, I need you or I'm going to die. So stick around. And just the confidence of him to be able to say that. He's so sure that Wormtail has to stay with him. I really like that line and that characterization of Voldemort. But anyway, that was all the favorite lines you had, right?
For this chapter,
For this chapter. My last one, was the one you said already. So that's all of my favorite lines too. Now moving on to our Transfiguration section. In the Transfiguration section, we talk about differences that the movies made from the books in Harry Potter. So in the first chapter of Goblet of Fire, some of the big changes, there are lots of lore omissions. Okay, in the book, we learn a lot about Little Hangleton and the towns members and all that. There's none of that mentioned. We don't get the scene of the townsfolk meeting at the Hanged Man. They don't have their gossip session. We don't get the backstory of Frank being a war vet or the Riddles and they're murdered. None of that takes place in the movie. Also, Frank doesn't have a walking stick whenever he goes into the Riddle house. So in the book, it makes mention several times how wet and slippery his hand is with sweat, but that's not, or the book says that, but that's not in the movie. A third character is also in the room in the movie. In the movie, it's not, in the book, we just had Wormtail and Voldemort in there, and then later Nagini shows up. But in the movie, there's one more character that is in there. I'm not going to spoil it because that's a major book spoiler for what comes later. There's one more person in there. Frank also never enters the room in the movie. In the movie, Nagini says, like, we have the Muggle caretaker standing just outside the door. Wormtail opens it up. And this is also a difference. In the movie, Wormtail in the book, he looks terrified, makes mention of how scared he is. But in the movie, he's like, has this evil smile.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, you're about to get it. And he like steps aside. And that's where, again, Voldemort doesn't say, where are your manners? He says, step aside, Wormtail, so I can give our guest a proper greeting.
Also a good line.
Yes. And then the greeting is him being killed.
Yeah.
And so anyway, final change. There is no mention of Bertha Jorkins in the movie. It's just Bertha is just a book character. That's all of our transfigurations for chapter 1. Moving on now to our golden snitches. And these are lore grabs, behind the scenes things, little tids and bits, things that the average reader might not know about. So the first one, Frank talks about him being a military vet, but it would have been from World War II. That was the war that Frank was a veteran of and seemed to have PTSD from. The other one is that I looked up Great and Little Hangleton to see if they were real places. They're not. But let me do a little screen share. Pull it up here. I looked up Little Hangleton, not a real place. However, some people have tried to find where it could be because Surrey, where Harry lives, is a real place in Little Whinging. It says Little Whinging, if you look this up on the Harry Potter wiki, is in the far northwestern corner of Surrey. Since Harry had traveled there by way of Paddington Station, a circle drawn of 200 miles, like around Surrey, would place you probably somewhere in the ocean. But that's the main part of it. But the line also crosses some parts of Wales, York, Cornwall, and Middleborough, indicating that Little Hangleton is located somewhere in the midsection of England, though it is unknown exactly where the village is located. So that's a little bit about Little Hangleton. I'll move us over here right now. Our other golden snitch is frightened to death. I looked up frightened to death. Could a person actually be frightened to death?
Oh, probably.
The answer is yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in the book, it talks about how it's not a thing. But like I looked it up on Britannica and then in some other articles too. But long story short, what happens is like. Certainly
it can trigger a heart attack. I mean,
yeah,
in a cliche sort of way.
It could trigger a heart attack. But the other major thing is that when in an extreme case of being frightened, it says that your fight or flight instinct,
parasympathetic nervous system, is that what it's called?
Don't even know.
Okay.
But your fight or flight instinct is triggered like so strongly that the adrenaline carries, I think it says something like calcium to your heart in such a major amount that it could kill you.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Like a stroke.
Yeah. So it's a thing. It can happen. Maybe they all did die of fright. And then the last one was Nagini. I'm not going to pull her up here. I'll click the stop sharing part now. But last little golden snitch I had was Nagini, but I don't want to say too much about her because there's a lot of spoiler stuff related to her. Long story short, what you need to know at this point is that Nagini is just Voldemort's pet snake.
Yeah, and I'm interested that you didn't necessarily bring up how it seems like, and this is regardless of what is confirmed later, just the way that it's described that he is feeding off of her venom.
Yeah, so that's a good thing to bring up. It talks about milking a snake. And so to milk a snake, if you've never heard that expression before, all it means is to get their venom out.
Yeah, by the fangs, right? But he is like, that's what Wormtail is feeding him.
Yeah, Nagini's venom.
Yeah. And I know this isn't probably a golden snitch, but I guess it's kind of close. One thing that I love about this chapter is that the opening chapter of one of these books is not Harry.
Yeah, that's a golden snitch to mention.
Okay, cool. And like the thing that I love about that is because the series grows up with its audience, I feel like with the fourth book, it's like getting to the midpoint, you know? There's a level of maturity and seriousness that brings, and it treats the reader like they are ready for that. Because if you start reading it at 11 years old, and then by the time you get here, you know, you're in your mid-teens, and it's like you can handle this more third-person, omniscient narrator that brings in these other elements, and you will find that interesting, and you will be able to follow and appreciate it, even though the main character isn't directly involved.
Yeah, it's a good test of maturity.
Yes,
and like almost kicking him out of the nest. I like that.
Yes.
Good take. All right, now moving on, listeners. That's all our golden snitches. We're going on to chapter 2, the Scar. Do you need a break?
Okay.
Cool. Chapter 2, the Scar. It's time for the welcome back, last time on chapter, because we got to have that in just about every book. And what I mean by that is the chapter of the book near the beginning that usually kind of like recaps everything that's happened up to this point.
Usually the first chapter, but not this time.
But because of a cool golden snitch, isn't it? So Harry wakes up with his scar hurting something fierce, and he goes and he checks himself out in the mirror. He's 14 now. Yay! I did find it interesting. This is the first book that we don't get to go through his birthday with him. You know, usually
it's already passed.
Yeah, it's already passed at this point. There's references to his birthday cards in a little bit, but his birthday's already taken place at this point. So he's 14 now. He tries to remember the dream, but he cannot, sadly, which I get that. He can picture Wormtail. There was also this old man. There was a snake in there, and Voldemort, but he can't remember what Voldemort looked like. Something weird about Voldemort, but he can't remember what he looked like. And they definitely wanted to kill him. He was like, I do remember that part. They were trying to kill me, but what else is new? We get a look around Harry's room, and he sees all his wizardy stuff. Why is his wizardy stuff in the room?
Because he is now allowed to keep it in there because the Dursleys are afraid that Sirius will come after them if Harry is mistreated.
That is correct.
Yeah.
So anyway, Harry sits back in bed, and he's bothered by the fact that the last time his scar hurt, it meant that Voldemort was close. But he dismisses that, though. He's like, it's whatever. And we get a little recap about the Dursleys and how awful Harry's home life is. I feel bad at the end of that section. You know, he says he couldn't go to them with his concerns. Like, the idea of going to them is laughable, is the exact word that is used. And I was like, oh, he don't got a good home life. I mean, we know this, but it's always sad to see it. We also get a recap of who Voldemort is and how he couldn't kill Harry when he was a baby, and that's why Harry's famous and everybody at school knows about him. He's super popular. Harry notices his birthday cards from his friends and pictures what each of them would say if he told them that his scar hurt. And Hermione's response, and his envisioned response for Hermione, he basically says, she would tell me to write to Dumbledore, and then she would also say that she would check out a book. Now, something I noticed for the first time ever, me not being a grammar person, I noticed a grammar thing here that I hadn't caught before. I wanted to ask if you knew if this was correct or not. When he's envisioning what she would say, it's in italics. You know, it's a good way of it's like how in anime sometimes when somebody thinks something, they put it in italics in the subtitles. But in this point, you know, it's in italics. When she says the name of the book, it's not in italics, which is flipped because normally,
yes,
is it?
That's
just to explain it though. Normally, a name of a book, the title is in italics and everything else is not. But whenever you write like this and you intentionally put everything in italics and you say the name of something, is this the correct way to handle it?
Yes. Just like how if there was an internal monologue about where something was in italics and then you might have one word that would have been italicized for emphasis, you don't italicize it so that it sticks out still as a form of emphasis.
Yeah, I like that.
So
That's
it
interesting.
Negates.
And then because the inverse happens in the very next paragraph, because the very next paragraph is written regularly, but whenever he brings up common magical ailments and afflictions, again, it's in italics that time around. Yeah. So I thought that was interesting. But anyway, so after Harry thinks of Hermione's response, he pictures Dumbledore hanging out on the beach. He's trying to think of him laid out in all his wizardy garb, but also rubbing suntan lotion into his long crooked nose. There is many fan arts and fan fictions about Dumbledore doing just that. And there's also some allusions to it because, you know, they're filming the new TV show right now. And Lord Farquaad, that actor, you know, he's playing Voldemort and not Voldemort, he's playing Dumbledore in the new show. There's scenes of him walking on a beach. And that's not anywhere in the first movie. So it's kind of odd that that's happened. But anyway, people make that connection. Anyway, he thinks of Ron's response, which is just kind of like, oh, not a big deal, right? You'd know if it was a big deal. Probably not a big deal. Let me go ask my dad. I did find it significant that both of them, in his imagination, told him to turn to a father figure, you know? And then Harry himself even is like, man, I wish I had a parent that I could turn to.
Very sad.
And then he remembers Sirius. Yay. And then we get the Sirius backstory talking about how he's his godfather. He was convicted of murder, but he wasn't really a murderer. People thought he betrayed his parents, but he didn't. All that good stuff. You were there for season 3, listener, right? Right. But anyway, he's bummed that he couldn't go live with Sirius, but at least he gets to keep his stuff in his room now. That's where that note came from. We also get a note about racist Hedwig. I thought this was so funny.
Oh, yeah.
Let me read
From
this.
the same water fountain.
Yeah, that's essentially what it is. Harry had received 2 letters from Sirius since he had been back at Privet Drive. Both had been delivered not by owls, as was usual with wizards, but by large, brightly colored tropical birds. Hedwig had not approved of these flashy intruders. She had been most reluctant to allow them to drink from her water tray before flying off again. And it's just, Hedwig's like, they're drinking from my water. It was like, that's crazy. Yep. Dang it, Hedwig. Get your act together, all right? So Harry writes to Sirius, and he feels a little bit better. He says, cool bird. Thanks for sending those to me. He talks about how Dudley's diet's not going too well. He brings up his scar hurting, and he's like, hey, is it normal for cursed scars to do that? If you know, no worries if you don't. Also, say hey to Buckbeak for me. And then we get a little sad note of how he doesn't want to worry him with his dream. So he doesn't even include that part in it because he's like, I don't want to bother him with that. Make too much about myself. And that's the end of the chapter. Yay! Moving on now. A very quick chapter.
It was.
Very quick chapter. Moving on now to our favorite lines of Chapter 2, The Scar. Bailey.
I just have one.
Just one?
Yeah.
Hit me with it.
You underlined it. So talking about Dudley's diet, they told him they'd have to cut his pocket money if he keeps doing it because he was sneaking donuts. So he got really angry and chucked his PlayStation out the window. That's the sort of computer thing you can play games on. This stupid relay, now he can't even, now he hasn't even got Mega Mutilation Part 3, so to take his mind off things. not a real game.
Not a real game.
Not a real game. But
I did Google that.
I think it's funny. Yeah,
you stole my golden snitch, so
Sorry.
thank you.
I think it's funny that Rowling didn't feel afraid to name drop a PlayStation console, like the actual company, you know? But she, in theory, could have actually listed, I guess, a video game that was real. It's like if she was name dropping a PlayStation, you know? And so I think it's funny because I picture this middle-aged lady who like has no idea what video games little boys are playing, so she just made up one.
It's essentially what a lot of people think too when you look it up.
Yeah.
We missed a lot there. I for sure thought that Mega Mutilation Part 3 or the PlayStation was going to be one of your Quizzitch questions. That's why I didn't ask it. But anyway, so I have two favorite lines. One of them, page 19. Asleep was the way Harry liked the Dursleys best.
Yeah, that's a good one.
It's so sad that he's like, I don't like hanging out with them if
they weren't much use to him when they were awake.
If you are unconscious, that I'm not going to finish. That sounds he did.
You're more used to me unconscious.
That's basically what he says. Yeah. So anyway, that's one of my favorite lines. Then my other favorite line, I don't think you said it. It was page 22. Oh yeah, and we referenced it a little bit. Harry kneaded his forehead with his knuckles. What he really wanted, and it felt almost shameful to admit it to himself, was someone like a parent, an adult wizard whose advice he could ask without feeling stupid, someone who cared about him. And then it said who had experience with dark magic. But I really like that. You know, we're about to become parents. I mean, you're already a mom bearing this child. I don't quite feel like a dad yet. That'll come. Yeah. But the idea of being a good dad and being there for your kids. One of the things I joke around now with people is I'll say, this is the most I've ever not been able to die. You know, I've told you this, I'll tell the listeners. Yeah. But like before, I felt like, you know, if I died, it's not too big a deal. And not on any type of like, I don't matter type of stuff, but just in that
life season.
Yeah, people will be able to move on and things will be all right. I didn't have people depending on me. And then when we got married, a little less so. But I still even thought, I was like, you know what? My wife is young enough and beautiful enough that she won't have any trouble moving on, finding somebody else. All good to go.
Thanks, dear.
So it wasn't that big of a deal to me. I mean, you know what I mean? It is a big deal.
I mean, I take that as a compliment.
Yeah, just playing this out in my head. But now that we have a baby on the way, I was like, this is the most I can't die now because I have to be there for that child. And reading about Harry being by himself, not having somebody he can turn to, like that's what is going on with him. You know, his parents didn't make it. And it's really sad to see, and I hate it for him. The idea of not being able to be there. Now, it's a little bit different in that the reason Harry's parents aren't there for him is because they were there for him in the greatest way possible.
Yes.
So it's a
paradox.
Yeah, you can stomach it a little more.
Yeah.
But that was my other favorite line. Moving on now, listeners, to our Transfigurations, differences that the movies made from the books. This whole chapter isn't really in the book.
Yeah.
Sorry, in the movie.
I was going to say, I feel like I didn't remember that.
Yeah, the way that the movie continues on after the Riddle House and that chapter, Harry has that dream, and when he wakes up from that dream, he is at the burrow in the movie. Like Hermione's waking him up. And him and Ron are like having a little sleepover. Hermione had showed up, you know, and we get that whole like Ron covering himself up. Bloody hell. Ron, your mother says breakfast's ready. But anyway, so this chapter is kind of skipped over, and so are the next two chapters. Harry's already at the burrow. So yeah, Harry wakes up. He's not on Privet Drive. The other one is that in this chapter, Harry writes a letter to Sirius. But in the movie, he doesn't do that until he's on his way to school on the Hogwarts Express, because Hermione says to him in the movie, your scar's been hurting. Sirius will want to hear about this. And so he writes that letter while he's on the Hogwarts Express and then gives it to Hedwig, and Hedwig flies out. And yeah, that's basically all the changes, because again, they don't do this chapter in the movie.
Gotcha.
So anyway, moving on now to our Golden Snitches.
So I've already ruined one.
Behind the scenes things, lores, tits and bits, all that stuff, fun stuff. So the first one, Flying with the Cannons, was a book that Harry received from Ron the previous year. And it's from, let me go ahead and share the screen again. I'm trying to make this more presentable now for our YouTube audience. Let's see, Flying with the Cannons. All right. I'll share that one. Yeah. This is a book that Ron gave to Harry in Christmas of December 1992. And so, yeah, it's by Julius de Hofe. I don't know how to say that name. Do you see that right there? Julius de Hofe. But it's a book about the Chudley Cannons. And yeah, that's about it. The other Golden Snitch I wrote down common magical ailments and afflictions. There's no information about it. It's just a random title drop. But it's interesting that in this book, we get the mention of Flying with the Cannons, like I just said, because it was a gift from Ron the previous year. 2 years ago. But we also get the mention of Hermione's eagle feather quill. It's just said. And I thought that was cool because, did I make a note here? No, I didn't. But anyway, I thought that was cool because it was also mentioned in the first chapter of last book. So he's been like actively using this. This has been a good gift. For me, it's really cool. Like one of the greatest compliments you could ever give is when you give a gift to somebody and they consistently use it. Mm-hmm. Hermione got Harry this eagle feathered quill and he keeps using it. And I thought that was sick. Good job, Hermione. Anyway, the other one that I had, this is funny, like a PlayStation. It's funny that the PlayStation is mentioned in this chapter because that is anachronistic. The PlayStation had not come out yet. The PlayStation ended up coming out next year. So this was, if you look at the Harry Potter Wiki, the PlayStation was not commercially released until December 1994 in Japan and September 1995 in Europe. However, and so this is the excuse it tries to give. So many fans of the series have pointed this out, but there is a potential way around it. And I do like what it says here. However, prototypes were made available to game developers before December 1994, some of which ended up being sold to private consumers. It is possible that Vernon and Petunia, as indulgent parents, bought one of these prototypes for Dudley. Alternatively, the Harry Potter novels may take place in a universe in which PlayStation was released earlier. I don't like that much.
Yeah.
But the first one was kind of cool. Mm-hmm. So anyway, and then you were talking earlier about J.K. Rowling not knowing much about PlayStation stuff. Harry Potter series author J.K. Rowling has stated, "I can't work PlayStations. I'm no good at those things." Mm-hmm. And that's funny. Did I have any more? Oh, and then as you already said, Mega Mutilation Part 3.
Not a real game.
Not a real game. Not a real game.
She just was like, what video game would be something that Dudley would play?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that wraps up our regular coverage of chapters 1 and 2 of Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, the Riddle House and the Scar. We're now going to move on to our restricted section. Okay. Or every book, I always come up with a fun little alternative name. Also known as the Graveyard.
Okay.
Ooh, because that's where he goes. You know what I'm saying? He goes to the graveyard. Anyway, just spoiled it. I'll edit that out. Also known as the Graveyard. And so, listeners, if you do not want any spoilers, if you don't want to hear about anything mentioned later in the books or mysteries revealed, get out of here now. Thank you so much for listening. We're looking forward to having you back next week for chapters 3 and 4. But for everybody else, stick around for some juicy spoiler talk. All right, now that all the normies are out of the way and we've got the cool people, Bailey, I have a list. Should I just go through my list of stuff and then if you want to add
go
anything?
For it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So first, it mentioned that Frank, when he was talking to the police, it said that he saw a pale black-haired kid and that nobody else saw him that day. That is Tom Riddle.
Yes.
It's not even made clear in this book that was Tom Riddle, I don't think. I think maybe that's revealed in book 6, but in book 6 we see the some of the memory or we get a bit more of an explanation. But anyway, it is Tom Riddle. He does the killing curse. That's why there's no marks on them. And it seems like they just died of fright. He showed up, killed the 3 of them. The other one there's a moment when Wormtail, like we said, he's talking about, we can use any other wizard. And he goes, I promise I'm not concerned for the boy. Like, I don't care about Harry. But I don't know if that's true or not. You know,
it screams, the lady doth protest too much, methinks.
Yeah. And so I never really thought that he did. But a counter argument to that is, one, in the previous book, Dumbledore tells Harry that there is now a special connection that is formed between them because Harry saved his life.
Mm-hmm.
And he says something about how this is ancient, old, powerful magic that when one wizard saves another wizard's life, a special bond is formed. Not only that, but later in book 7, so big spoiler, and this wasn't in the movie, so you haven't seen this, but in book 7, when there's a moment when Wormtail is about to kill Harry and Ron, but Harry reminds him, he's like, hey, Wormtail, I saved your life. And it says he hesitates just for a moment. Like Wormtail, like, thinks about that. And that ends up being the reason Wormtail dies. I won't spoil exactly how that happened because you haven't read that yet. But that ends up being what causes Wormtail's death. And so, I don't know. I thought maybe he does actually care about Harry a little bit.
Or at least feel like he owes him something.
Exactly. Yeah. The other one I was wondering was, I don't know what murder they're talking about. So he says we have to commit one more murder and then the path to Harry is clear. And I can't quite remember what that could be because Bertha's already dead.
Was there a specific number that they needed to hit?
No. So like he kept saying one more murder. And in my head, so we know that the people that die leading up to Harry in the graveyard, it's Frank Rice. I think that's his last name. But Voldemort wasn't planning on killing him. That's not who he's talking about. Bertha's already died at this point because he says he already killed her. And it's not Harry because that's who they're trying to get to. I know that Barty Crouch Sr. is killed. That could be who they're talking about, but I think that was an accident. I don't know if that was intentional or not.
I mean, is it not?
This is a spoiler section. You can say it.
Right, but I mean, the big death at the end of this book.
Oh, Cedric?
Yeah, like could that not
no,
be
I
it?
I don't think it is. I don't think it is because no part of Cedric is part of the ritual, the potion that brings Voldemort back.
Okay.
So I don't know what murder he's talking about. Listeners, can you let me know? I don't know what murder he's talking about.
Okay.
The only potential thing I could think of was perhaps it was Mad-Eye Moody, but they wanted to keep Mad-Eye alive so they could do the Polyjuice potion all year long. So I don't know.
Could be a plot hole.
Anyway, the other one I had here was, it said that Voldemort says to Wormtail, like, you will serve me like incredibly. I have given you such an honor that many of my Death Eaters would give their right hands to do. And that's a kind of a pun because that's what Wormtail has to do for it. He has to cut off his hand and put it in the potion that brings Voldemort back to life. So it's literally give his right hand. The faithful servant that is mentioned at Hogwarts, or that is brought up here and that will be at Hogwarts, Voldemort keeps talking about my faithful servant. He's referring to Barty Crouch Jr. So that's the other one that I can think of. The memory charm breaking. So this is also interesting. At one point, Voldemort says to Wormtail, because Wormtail says, we could have just put a memory charm on her. And Voldemort says, hey, you know as well as I do that if a powerful wizard comes across a memory charm, maybe they can break it. Like, we've already seen that happen. And you don't know as the reader first time what he's talking about, but he's talking about Bertha herself. Like, Bertha already had a memory charm placed on her by Barty Crouch Sr. because Barty Crouch Sr., she showed up to his house one time and saw Barty Crouch Jr., who was supposed to be dead, and Sr. was like, you forget about this, boom. And that's how Voldemort ended up learning that his faithful servant was still alive. So I thought that was interesting. And then the last one, Nagini. Nagini is a maledictus. And so essentially, this is like Fantastic Beasts lore. So some people don't consider this canon, but Nagini is not a regular snake. Nagini is a human who had a blood curse that eventually turned her into a snake. So she wasn't an animagus. She had a curse placed on her that eventually, like, she could turn into a snake and then back into a human, but eventually she'd be stuck as a snake.
Howl's Moving Castle style.
Yeah. And so let me see if anything else is mentioned about that on Nagini. Originated possibly in Indonesia. I think that's just because maybe the actress that played her was Indonesian. I'm not sure. It talks a lot about her. Like, she has a romantic relationship with Credence Barebone, also known as, well, I don't want to spoil that in case people haven't seen Fantastic Beasts. And a lot of people don't even consider it canon. So anyway, oh, and she's also a Horcrux. That's the big thing to note, is that Nagini is one of Voldemort's Horcruxes. And it is believed that the murder of Bertha is how Nagini was turned into a Horcrux. So the fan theory, I think, that goes around is that when Voldemort was in the woods of, Albania, I think it was, he could inhabit certain animals that would often die, but one day he was able to inhabit Nagini, and she seemed stronger, and so he lived inside Nagini, and then eventually he was able to take some part of this form that he has now, and then he killed Bertha, and through that, because you have to kill somebody to create a Horcrux, he turned Nagini the last Horcrux that he creates. But that's all my restricted section stuff, all my graveyard talk. Did you have anything else?
Oh, no.
No. My wife is hungry, and she wants to keep eating more Mexican. All right. What?
You gotta out me like that.
Well, I'm hungry too. I'm hungry.
Fair enough.
I want to eat my food.
Yeah.
But that is about all we have. So that's it. That's it for our first episode of season 4. Listeners, I hope you enjoyed that. I'm so excited for the rest of season 4. Like I've been saying, we have some awesome guests lined up. Can't wait for you to hear from them. Bailey, thank you for being on this episode. Even though you are pregnant and tired and working hard.
That's okay.
You came and joined me for this. I appreciate it so much, my love.
Of course.
And that's it. That's all we got time for, everybody. All right, goodbye.
Bye-bye.
And click. Thank you for listening to Retold. Artwork for this podcast was created by Rachel Ortlip. Music was created by Taylor Jarvis. And the Retold podcast is produced by me. That's right. I made this.